What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. I'm your host, as always, Jake. Today is a very special episode. Today is a mock draft special, so let's just get started. We're not going to start with the mock draft right away. We're going to wait for some people to come in here. I know Smooth might be coming in. Rucker Rocks hopefully should be coming in. So we'll see if we can get some people to jump in today. Worst case scenario, if no one comes in, you only have like one person or something, I could always push this until tomorrow if need be. Day of the draft. So let's get started. First, let's talk about some NBA before we get to my mock draft. Last night in the NBA playoffs, we had the Heat beat the Hawks 97-94 in Game 5. They win that series in 5. They move on to the second round. They made about 20 points, 11 rebounds. He stepped up in the absence of Jimmy Butler, who did not play because of the knee injury. DeAndre Hunter had a big game now, 35 points and 11 rebounds. Trae Young just could not find the magic that he had in the playoffs last year, especially in the first round against the Knicks last year. Hip father! Hi, Dad! How are you? When I saw Hip father, I was like, I didn't know who that was. Guys, that's actually my dad. He just joined Colorcast. He doesn't do Colorcast, but he heard I was doing it. He's like, I want to join, so he is here. Hey, how's it going, Dad? I did not expect you to come in. I'm talking some NBA playoffs, and then I'm going to do a mock draft special. All right, so we also had the Grizzlies beat the Timberwolves 111-109. John Morant, 30 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists. He ended a man's life. Sounds good, Dad. Thank you so much for tuning in. I got a new listener now. And then Timberwolves in the loss. Cat had 28 points, 12 rebounds in the loss. Memphis now up 3-2. Whenever a protester goes on the court, Memphis loses and Minnesota wins. If there's no protesters, then Memphis wins. That's the way the series has been going. As funny as that is. But Memphis is up 3-2. John Morant, monstrous poster, and he also had a game-winning layup with 1 second left. And the Suns beat the Pelicans 112-97. Mikal Bridges had 31 points in that one. Suns go up 3-2 in that series. As for tonight at 7:30 on TNT, 7:30 Eastern Time, Bulls and Bucks. Expect to see me on the app later tonight. It appears that Bobswick and I are probably going to cast that game. I'll put my Discord if that changes, but most likely I will be casting that game with Bobswick. We did a game earlier in the year. We did a Suns and Heat regular season game earlier in the year, and that went well, so we're going to do it again. So Bulls, Bucks tonight, Game 5, Milwaukee up 4-1. I think they'll probably close it out. Chicago's down Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso. They got no one helping right now. At 10 o'clock, Nuggets and Warriors. Warriors lead 3-1. That's Game 5. Golden State can close out that series if they win. Obviously, we had 2 series are over in the East. The top 2 teams in the East have moved down. Miami beat the Hawks in 5, and obviously, get your brooms out. Boston swept the Brooklyn Nets in 4 games. And now we possibly could get the third team in the number 3 seed in the East could be moving on to a second round after tonight if they win, and the 3 seed in the West, the Warriors, could be moving on as well. So I got for NBA. Dad, do you have anything else you want to talk about for NBA? I know our Knicks did not quite make it to the playoffs. All right, everybody. I'm thinking about turning this into a podcast, so I'll keep you updated on that. I don't think anyone else is listening besides Hip Father, who is my dad, by the way. I don't know, but I know what to use. Now I know how to use this. Oh well, sounds good. Dad, thank you for popping in. I will talk to you later. Thanks for popping in. That's Hip Father. That is my actual dad. He heard about this app. I've been telling him about it. He was like, how do I listen to your podcast? I said, download Colorcast and make an account. And he decided that his name would be Hip Father. He thinks he's hip. So he ran for it and he popped in today. So that's that. So let's move on to NHL. If Smooth comes in or anybody else, I'm the coolest dad going. Okay, you are a very cool dad. I'll give you that. Move on to some hockey. I'm not sure if Smooth's coming in or if Rocker Rock's be popping in soon. Love you too, man. Talk to you later. So we got last time we had the Maple Leafs beat the Red Wings 3-0. Also Matthews 2 goals in that game. Also Matthews has 60 goals this year. Oh my goodness. Bruins over the Panthers 4-2. Senators over the Devils 5-4. In overtime, Tim Stutzel had 2 goals in that game. Nick Foot for the Devils got his first 2 goals of the season. Walker Rocks, how's it going? I just did some NBA, and then I'm doing NHL. I plan to get to my mock draft special very, very shortly. I would like to get some sort of audience. I'm not sure if Smooth's coming in. I know he was on lunch break today, but thank you for tuning in, Rocker Rocks. By the way, Rocker Rocks, my dad's also in here. He's probably going to dip any second. He might have already dipped. I know Colorcast is already glitchy, but he was in here. I'm not sure if he still is. It says he is. Lightning beat the Blue Jackets 4-1. My Rangers took a tough lost to the Hurricanes 4-3. Chris Kreider did get his 52nd goal of the season. He's 2 away from Jaromir Jagr's single-season Rangers record. Rangers came back late, but it was a little bit too late. It looks like the Metro Division looks like it's over. Oilers over the Penguins 5-1. Islanders over the Capitals 4-1. Flames over the Predators 5-4 in overtime. Dylan Dube had 2 goals in that game. Elias Lindholm, the game winner. Philip Forsberg had 2 goals from Nashville in the loss. Coyotes get a rare win. Wow, they beat the Wild. That's a surprise. 5-3. We got the Stars over the Golden Knights 3-2 in a shootout. Jason Robinson had 2 goals for Dallas. He's got 40 goals this year. Wow. Dallas, I'll do the standings in a couple of minutes. I know with the Stars winning the game against Vegas, Nashville and the Kings clinched the playoffs. I know with a regulation when the Stars would have clinched the playoffs and knocked out Vegas. I'm not sure since Vegas got a point if they're mathematically eliminated yet. Avalanche over the Blues 5-3. Brandon Rowley 2 goals from the loss for St. Louis. And the Canucks over the Kraken 5-2. Fortunately, I do think the Canucks are now eliminated from the playoffs, so they did finish well in the season. They've actually played very well since they made the coaching change. If they made that change a little bit earlier in the year, going from Travis Green to Bruce Boudreau, they probably would have been in the playoffs, probably as a 6 or 7 seed in the West. And then Rucker Rocks, your Ducks did pick up a win. They beat the Sharks 5-2 in that game. That's all I got for NHL. This is a game you want me to look at a little more in depth. You guys can let me know. I'm not sure if Hip Father is still in here. He said he was leaving, but I said he's still in here. And now Rucker Rocks, I know, is in here. That's for tonight. We got a few games tonight. 7:30 Eastern Time, Flyers, Jets. We got Canadians and Rangers. Hopefully my Rangers can take care of business against the Canadiens. 8:30 Golden Knights and Blackhawks. Coyotes and Stars. At 10, Kings and Kraken. For game of the night, these games are not very promising. Oh, God. Wow, these are bad. I'll say... You know what? I'll say Flyers, Jets. Maybe these are both very bad. The Flyers are terrible. Winnipeg's a little bit better, but they're not going to make the playoffs. That's the best one we got. Maybe they're both they're not too good. They'll play well. Who knows? Okay, as for the standings in the NHL, pull those up, and I think all the divisions should be finalized. Yeah, the Hurricanes being the Rangers, they clinched the Metro, and all the other divisions, as I've said before on this cast, are all locked up. So, and I think we made them 16 teams. We definitely have the 8 teams in the East. Florida already pushed the 1 seed. They got 120 points. Carolina's got 114. They're in second. Toronto's in third with 113. My Rangers are going to end up at fourth. I don't know, higher than fourth. They got 108. Tampa also has 108. Rangers have one more win than Tampa right now, and we have a tiebreaker over Tampa. We both have 108. East is so stacked. We got Boston in sixth with 105. Pittsburgh in seventh with a 101. And Washington eighth with 100. East is so stacked. The Rangers are an amazing team. They got 108 points, and they're going to be between fourth and sixth in the East. Capitals got 100 points. Normally that would be fifth or sixth. They're eighth. That's crazy. And Favre just left. Rocker Rock. That was my actual dad. He popped in. So East we know the 18s, and the West we know 7. Corral pushed the number 1 seed. They got 118. They're 2 points behind Florida for the President's Trophy. Calgary punched their division. They're in second with 110. Minnesota punched the playoffs. They got 109. St. Louis, who punched the playoffs, they got 109. But Minnesota has a game in hand. They have 2 games left. The Blues have 1 game left, so barely. Edmonton's in fifth with 100. The Los Angeles Kings, who punched the playoffs last night, they're in sixth with 96. Nashville Predators, who punched the playoffs last night, they are in seventh with 95. And the Dallas Stars also have 95. They have 1 more win, but Nashville's got 1 less loss and 2 more overtime losses. So Nashville's ahead of Dallas technically right now, and Vegas is met. They're 4 points out with 2 games to go. I'm not sure if they're mathematically eliminated yet, but Vancouver is now eliminated from the playoffs. They did finish very well. They have lots to look forward to. If Bruce Boudreau was the coach the whole season, they would have been at least probably a top 6 or 7 team in the West. I thought they played very well with him. They really struggled when they had Travis Green as their coach. But with Bruce Boudreau, they actually played very well. So, all right, Rucker Rock, is there anything you want me to cover for hockey? I know your Ducks had tough finish to the year. They're now only at 76 points, just 13th in the West. So I know your hockey team is no longer in the playoffs. But if there's anything else you want to talk about, you can let me know. And Cap will come in. How's it going, Cap? And he left. So thank you, Cap, for stopping in for about 3 seconds. And he's back. Welcome, Cap. Cap, I'm not sure how long you're going to be in here, but I just covered some basketball and some hockey, but I think I'm going to do my my mock draft now. This is a mock draft special. We got the draft going tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time in Las Vegas, Nevada. Would love to hear it. Sounds good. So, without further ado, let's kick off what the show theme is really about, and let's kick off this mock draft. And all right, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to go pick by pick for the first round only. I'm only going to do the first round. So I'm going to go pick by pick. And I'll give my pick. I'll say why it's a pick, and you guys can feel free to put down in the chat. Oh, that's a good pick, or I would win with this guy. I think this could be a trade. A trade. I like you have a trade, but this trade should be this. You can jump on the hot seat, jump on the speaker role, and we can talk. And I would love for you guys to interact with mock draft. This does not have to be me just reading off names. In fact, it might even be more exciting if you guys interact. So that's how this is going to work. And without further ado, let's get started. All right. So the first pick is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars were, kind of a dumpster fire last year, which is really nothing new. They're not a very good organization. But last year, had like 3 wins last year. The Urban Meyer experiment did not work at all. And, yeah. So that did not work. They tried to ruin Trevor Lawrence in his rookie year. It did not go well at all. The first overall pick, Jacksonville's got a lot of holes. But I feel they really got to look on the defensive side of the ball because they got a really good young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I think Captain Cap just dipped, so it's back to you and I, Rock, but that's all right. I'm hoping Smooth comes in and maybe some other people will pop in. I gotta do a better job of advertising this in the Discord. That's what I gotta start doing. But so up first, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think the pick is going to be Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan, edge rusher out of Michigan. I'm hearing a lot of people say Trayvon Walker. And although I think it's pretty much a no-brainer to take Hutchinson, I do think he's the best player in this draft. There's really no stud in this draft. It's an obvious number one. But I definitely think Hutchinson is slightly head and shoulders above everybody else. I don't think Trayvon Walker deserves to be number one. I think he'll be a top 10 pick. We will see if that's where he ends up going in my mock draft, and of course the real draft is tomorrow. But I do not think he should go number one. Either way, I think there's a good chance Jacksonville may draft him. They seem to be very high in him at number one for whatever reason. But I think Hutchinson, a lot of people would agree with me. I would think that Hutchinson should go number one. I think a lot of people who are saying Trayvon Walker are just saying, I don't think he should go number one, but that's just what they think is going to happen, and they're trying to be as accurate as possible with their predictions. So they figure, all right, let's pick Walker. But I think in the end, Jacksonville will realize that Hutchinson is just the better player, and they're going to go with him. Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan, who's a guy who's going to be a stud, he goes number one. And welcome back, Cap. No Cap. I just did the number one overall pick. I had Aiden Hutchinson going to be Jacksonville Jaguars, edge rusher out of Michigan. I just think he's just the best player available. I can see Trayvon Walker going there. They seem to be very high on him. I'm not too sure why. He's a great player, and he'll be a high pick. I think he has a great career, but I don't think he deserves to go number one. So I got Hutchinson going first overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. At second overall, the Detroit Lions. If Smooth Milk pops in, I'll talk to him about that. I know he's not a Lions fan, but he's a Detroit, Michigan guy. If Pat comes in, we'll definitely talk to him about this. Pat Rush, he's a Detroit Lions fan. Smooth is from Detroit, but he does not root for the Lions, and you can't blame him. Their team is bad. Speaking of Lions being bad, that was what happened last year. They were very bad yet again. But they appear to have a good coach, Dan Campbell. I do like him. A lot of Lions fans like him, so we'll see where that goes. And the second pick in the draft, the Lions. If you really look at their team, their offense was actually pretty good last year. Jared Goff is obviously not the answer long term. He's barely even the short term answer. But there is no quarterback even worth remotely looking at this pick, in my opinion. So they really don't have a choice but to look at quarterback. Plus, they have the 32nd pick, and there may be a quarterback that's first round. That could be first round, material that could be worth the 32nd pick. Maybe they make it. Maybe they move up from that pick a little bit. They could if they want to. You never know. So here they got to focus on defense. They got the receiver room isn't great, but they got the kid St. Brown was really good, and I don't think the receiver worth taking at second, though. I do think receivers will go pretty high in this draft. Not quite at two. They got to look at the defense. Their defense was absolutely egregious last year. It was terrible. Probably the worst defense in the NFC. Maybe the worst defense in the NFL. As a Jets fan, I think my Jets defense was worse. Plus, just had the defensive head coach. But the Lions probably had the worst in the NFC. They probably take that crown. So they got to look defense, and I had them taking edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon. Now, there's some scouts that are not a fan of him. Early on in this draft process, we thought he'd be a top 2 pick. Then some people are a fan were knocking him for some things. I don't quite understand that, so I have him going second. And it said there was a third person in here for about half a second, and when I went to check after I finished my thought, they were gone. So whoever popped in for half a second, thank you very much. Third overall, we got the Houston Texans going up. Texans, another very porous organization. Haven't been around too long, but kind of like with Jaguars, haven't been around very long and just have never really been relevant. I don't think they've ever been past the second round of the playoffs. They've never been to the Super Bowl. They're trying to change that. They got new coaches all season. They promoted defensive coordinator Lovie Smith to head coach after they fired David Culley after just one season on the job. So sorry with the pulls now. I'm watching the Mets, and Luis Guillorme tried to go for a triple when he got thrown out in third. That's too bad. We'll see if they review that call. Anyway, back to the draft. Texans have holes all over the roster. They really didn't make any moves in the offseason to improve a team that was 4-13 last year. It was absolutely horrendous. So they could really go anywhere. But they have a young quarterback there who is still a question mark in Davis Mills. But I thought he played very well down the stretch last year. He's definitely going to have a shot to get the starting job. They really don't have anybody there to challenge him right now that's notable, I don't think. They did not re-sign Tyrod Taylor. And Lovie Smith seems to like him. So it looks like he'll be the starter. So I say that they try to put some better linemen around them. Outside of Laramie Tunsil, there really is no offensive line there. They were in the bottom 10 last year as for when it came to sacks allowed. So I'm going to say they take offensive tackle Evan Neal out of Alabama. You see them going maybe for an edge rusher, maybe Trayvon Walker, maybe Ahmad Gardner. I heard they may be targeting an edge rusher or an edge rusher. All right, now I heard they were going to target an offensive tackle or an edge rusher. Excuse me, I apologize. An offensive tackle or a corner. So, offensive tackle, I think they're definitely targeting. They really need a guy opposite of Laramie Tunsil. I don't know if Tunsil, he could be a guy I think could go up a trade deadline. There was rumors they might move him in the offseason because they're paying him a lot of money. They might want to try to recoup some picks that they gave up for him. They gave up so many picks in that deal. They gave up a couple of other mid-rounders. They gave up a couple of players, and then the Dolphins ended up trading Dak a couple of times. Ended up getting God knows how many picks out of that trade. That was a really good move by them. So I thought they might do that, but he's still there. But on the right side, Titus Howard. I'm not even sure he's on the team anymore. From a first rounder, he's been terrible. So now they have two really good offensive tackles and one young stud who they just drafted Evan Neal out of Alabama. Alabama has a lot of good offensive linemen that come out every year, so I'll go with him. Now on the clock with the fourth overall pick is the New York Jets. The Jets, as usual, were terrible last year. It's just 4-13, absolute garbage. But they got a young coach in Robert Sell. They got a young quarterback in Zach Wilson. They have some young players, but the team is still terrible. They made a couple moves in the offseason, but they still need a lot of offensive line help. Could use another piece on the outside for Zach Wilson. Defense was terrible last year. They did add some guys, but they still need an edge rusher and probably another defensive back. But as for the fourth pick, I think they got to go offensive line. Their offensive line was so bad last year. If I could see Zach Wilson get sacked and run for his life one more time, I'm going to be very, very sad. It's sad how bad their O-line has been the last 2 years. But they got to improve that, which is why I had them taking offensive tackle. I apologize, I might butcher his name. Ikem Ekwonu out of North Carolina State. He's really good. He's very talented. That's who I have the Jets taking with the fourth pick in the draft. I would be fine if they went edge rusher. If Hutchinson or Thibodeau falls to them, I would be fine if they took him. But they really need an offensive line, and as a Jets fan, I would be happy if they took an offensive tackle. If they get Ekwonu out of North Carolina State, he's really good. He's a stud, and that's who I think they got to take. Up next is the another New York team, the New York Giants. New York football probably will hit its lowest point it's ever hit, with the Giants and Jets both going 4-13 last year. Giants were an absolute dumpster fire last year. They have a new administrative team there. They have a new head coach. Joe Judge was fired after 2 years. Thank goodness, because he was very, very bad. They brought in a pair of guys from the Bills. They brought in Brian Daboll to be their head coach, and they brought in Joe Schoen to be GM. They got Dave Gettleman out of there. And they're trying to change the culture over there. Giants got 2 in the top 10. You'll see where they are in a little bit for the second pick of the first round. But first off, they got the 5th overall pick. With the 5th pick, okay, so the Giants have, again, like we got, have a bunch of needs. The number one need is offensive line. Cap, if I'm wrong, I think you might be a Giants fan. I believe you're from New York. I know you root for the Cleveland Cavaliers for basketball, but let's see, we put in the chat. Sammy, I am, yes, okay. So you are a Giants fan, okay. But yeah, offensive line, as you know, should be the number one need. Their offensive line is absolutely terrible. It's straight garbage. It might even be worse than the Jets' offensive line, which I didn't know was possible watching the Jets last year. But they do have some other needs. It definitely is. Yeah, their offensive line has been so bad in the last couple of years. On defense, they could use another piece or two, maybe another defensive back and then a edge rusher. And when I look at this draft, we need O-line and some secondary. Yeah, secondary pieces. I know they cut Logan Ryan the offseason. James Bradbury appears to be on a trading block. I'm not sure if he'll even make it to training camp at this point, because they're definitely trying to shop him. I mean, Schoen was not the GM that signed him to that contract. I'm not saying he hasn't lived up to it. He's played pretty well. His first year with the Giants, he played very well. Last year, may have taken a small step back. I don't have his PFF grade in front of me, but I thought he wasn't quite as good. But I doubt the contract fit a pretty fair value, but at this point, it might not be worth paying him going into the last year of his deal. So they're looking to trade him. And they could really use a corner here, maybe. Amon Gardner's sitting there. But they really need an offensive lineman. They have the 7th pick as well, but Carolina could take an offensive lineman. I don't think they want to take the chance of, having to wait possibly until the second round to take an offensive lineman. Because the last really offensive tackle that they'll be able to take is still number one. If he goes at 6, then it's going to be tough. Welcome in Zach Contrell. Zach, I'm doing a mock draft special today. I did the first 4 picks to recap. I did Aiden Hutchinson went first. I had Kevin Thibodeau went second to the Lions. Evan Neal third to the Texans. And Kim Kwonu as the O-lineman of North Carolina State, whose name I can't say. 4th to the Jets. I'll do a recap at the end. Zach, if you want to be interactive in the chat on the hot seat speaker, feel free. That's how this is working today. As I told Captain No Cap and Rucker Rocks are also in here. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is working out really well with the audience. The Giants, I think they're going to go offensive line. They can't take a chance that Carolina takes the last available, road-to-go tackle that's available at the top of this draft. And I think we have 3 straight O tackles going. I have them taking Charles Cross, offensive tackle at Mississippi State. I have them going 5th overall of the Giants. Maybe a smidge of a reach. I don't think it's really that much of a reach. Giants need to spend multiples on the O-line so Saquon doesn't get killed. Yeah. They wonder why he's getting injured, because as soon as they hand him the ball, he's getting mauled by 9 different guys. No, I do think, I honestly was surprised they didn't trade him. He's not been the same since his rookie year. But back to the draft. We'll see in the secondary. He's hopefully a safety. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I have him doing. I won't be doing the second round today. But honestly, I'll probably ask you guys after the first round if there's any prospects that I didn't mention in the first round that you think, could be good. And I'm sure there'll be plenty. The first 10 picks in the second round usually are filled with guys you go, holy crap, he's still available. So, I think it was Pat Jack. He was saying, you should load up on picks 30 through 40. I agree with that. There's still a lot of good value there. And obviously, picks 30 through 40, you wouldn't think there'd be value there, but there truly is a lot of value, though, still. Well, I have the Giants taking Charles Cross off at the tackle at Mississippi State. I think he's more of a top 10 pick than a top 5 pick, but the Giants' need is just too big. And if Carolina takes an O-line, which is possible, they may not, but they may. Their O-line was not good last year. Hasn't been good in a couple years. they can't take that chance. I'm not getting an alignment until the second round. So I haven't taken Charles Cross off the tackle at Mississippi State. And then with the 6th overall pick, we have the Carolina Panthers picking. They had a tough year last year. I think went like just 5-12. Their head coach Matt Rule was in the hot seat for a lot of the season. They had very bad quarterback play. Christian McCaffrey got hurt. Their defense, after a slow start, really didn't play that well. So, with the 6th pick, the Carolina Panthers. Okay, I don't think they should do what they're going to do. I think there is not a quarterback worth taking here. I really don't. I don't see a quarterback going in the top 10. I don't think it's the top 10 overall pick quarterback in this draft. That being said, the Panthers quarterback is Sam Darnold. And Zach just dipped. Thank you, Zach, for tuning in. Sam Darnold's terrible. He's absolutely horrible. I know I'm going to be a little biased as a Jets fan. Yes, the Jets ruined him. He had Adam Gase as his head coach. They gave him nothing. But he went to Carolina last year where the team wasn't great either. Matt Rule's not a very good head coach. The O-line was not very good. And I know McCaffrey only played like 5 or 6 games last year, whatever he played. But still, he had McCaffrey for a few games. He was a superstar. Cap is dead. Maybe he'll come back. We'll see. So rock down, just you and I. But he also had McCaffrey for at least a few games. Chuba Hubbard was an okay fill-in. I thought he did okay. He's maybe a league average or so running back. He's got 2 really good receivers in DJ Moore and Robert Anderson. He played Robert Anderson in New York. He's got chemistry with him. The defense wasn't terrible. It was okay. Yeah, he had, if he's truly a franchise quarterback, he should run out there and put at least some decent numbers up there. And, well, although yes, he hurt his shoulder. Again, he missed some time with an injury. Even when he was healthy, outside of maybe the first 2 or 3 games, he was just as bad as he was with the Jets. He's not a good quarterback. And there's been rumors that have linked Baker Mayfield to the Carolina Panthers. First of all, Robbie Anderson definitely doesn't want him. And he's one of their best players. He's been active on social media saying, I don't want him. Carolina's not expected to make a move before draft. We'll see what they do during draft day. But as of right now, it looks like they're leaning against trading for Baker Mayfield. Although I think they are considering it. They're probably not going to make a move, at least not on draft day, most likely. Definitely not. Nothing will happen today for sure. So I think their hands can be a little bit forced. I think they're going to reach. And I think they're going to take a quarterback. So I don't agree with it, but I wish I wasn't doing this. But 6th overall, I have the Carolina Panthers taking Malik Willis out of Liberty, who I do like in this draft. I said I'm not a fan of any of these quarterbacks, but Malik Willis has a cannon. He throws a really good deep ball, and he can make plays with his legs. He fits today's mold for what you want in a quarterback. In the right situation, I think could be really good. So he is who I have going 6th overall to the Carolina Panthers. So that's our first quarterback. 7th overall, New York Giants were up once again. And they went O-line in their first pick. Honestly, if there was another offensive lineman available, I would suggest taking another O-line. Their offensive line is so bad. But they went O-line already. So now they got to focus on defense. Cap was saying earlier that the New York Giants, they need some secondary pieces. I agree with him. It wouldn't hurt to get another edge guy, but there isn't quite an edge guy here. They could take Jermaine Johnson, but I think he's more. That might be a tiny bit of a reach. So, Trayvon Walker is still up on the board. So they could take him, but I think a bigger need for them is to take some secondary help. And Ahmad Gardner is sitting there for the New York Giants. He's just waiting to be drafted. He's a stud at Cincinnati. He did not give up a single touchdown. Obviously, he's played in the AAC. But Cincinnati had a great year last year. He's a stud. He's going to be a great player on the NFL, and I'll have the Giants taking Ahmad Gardner, the 7th overall pick, corner at Cincinnati. Welcome back again, Cap No Cap. I had the Panthers taking Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty, just because I don't think they should do that, but I just think that's what's going to happen. They seem to think they're going quarterback. Yeah, their own offensive coordinator, but not going to go up there. And so, yeah, Sam's our quarterback. And we could take a quarterback. And supposedly they did tell Sam Darnold they may take a quarterback. So I had him going there, and Ahmad Gardner to the Giants at 7, the corner. 8th overall is the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, the Falcons, I think next year could be picking 1 in this draft. Their team is terrible. This team went 7-10 last year and traded maybe the greatest quarterback in his history of the franchise in Matt Ryan, who could still play. You got their top receiver, Calvin Ridley. They're their only top receiver. Was suspended for the entire season because of gambling. Their defense, which was awful last year, did not really bring in anybody. In fact, they cut one of their best guys, Dante Fowler, who has not been good the last 2 years for them, but they're better with him than without him, I would say. They cut him in during the offseason. They didn't bring in anybody noticeable, not that I can remember at least. They did re-sign Cordell Patterson, but he's not really adding a guy. They're bringing him back. So the Falcons really could go anywhere. I could even see them trading back. Problem is, no one really wants to. I don't think anyone's going to want to jump up and take anybody at this point. So the Atlanta Falcons could go anywhere here. That being said, their quarterback right now is Marcus Mariota. I don't mind him getting a second chance. He had 5 different offensive coordinators in Tennessee. Tough for him learning a new offense every year. It's really hard for a young quarterback. But I don't think he's a franchise star. He's not. He was never. He's never going to be worth the second pick. But as a short-term option, he might be able to hold his own. That being said, you can put anybody in that offense with the weapons they have right now, and they're not going to do very good. They got nothing over there. So I think with the 8th pick, although there's some really good defensive players they could take to help that really bad defense. They got an offensive-minded head coach, Arthur Smith, going into his second year there. So I think they take the first receiver off the board. They take Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. I think that's who the pick is. Wide receiver of Ohio State. He's a stud. Well, Ohio State's got a lot of good receivers have been coming out. They got a couple coming out this year. They'll have more coming out next year. That's who goes for the Atlanta Falcons. Okay. 9th overall pick is the Seattle Seahawks. They had a tough offseason, very busy, but not exactly promising. They traded one of the greatest players in the history of their franchise, quarterback Russell Wilson, traded him to the Denver Broncos. They got back a couple first-round picks for that, a couple players. They got a lot back, but still, you trade away a superstar quarterback. You also cut Bobby Wagner, one of the league's best inside linebackers. So outside of re-signing Bradley McDougald, they didn't really do anything positive this offseason. They might trade DK Metcalf. I know they're saying they might. They're saying they're going to keep him. They might extend him, but I think I think they may trade him. At this point, he's probably going to stay, but I'm not sure if he'll finish his career there. DK Metcalf. So the Seahawks could go anywhere. This could be a spot where they take a quarterback. If I'm the Seahawks, I think there's 2 guys that are on the market that I think are starting caliber quarterbacks. Possibly. Jimmy Garoppolo, who was in the Super Bowl and a conference championship each of the last 3 years. Obviously, he won a couple rings as a backup in New England. He's a decent starter. Not great by any means, but he can be a short-term answer. He's in the last year of his contract. If he stays healthy, have the right piece around him, he could be pretty good. He's got 2 great receivers over there. And then Baker Mayfield, I think, is an absolute baby. And I don't think he's very good, but as a short-term answer, maybe if he was nicked up last year, maybe if you keep him healthy, He put some pieces around him. He might be able to be serviceable for a year. Look at depth. He's been popping in and out, so he might come back. We'll see. Thank you, Captain No Cap, for just the support today. And thank you, Rucker Rocks, for the support. As always, I always appreciate it. So, for Seattle, so I think they look at there's 2 guys left, and they think, all right, Carolina just drafted Malik Will, so they may not go after a veteran. They might, they may give him a job right away. Maybe they'll stick with Sam for a year. Maybe they'll start Sam, and then when Wills is ready, or maybe they figure Sam Darnold is just garbage. Eventually, he's going to just play so bad. Like, all right, we need to put somebody else in. Maybe they'll compete for jobs. So they may not go out and get somebody. So, and the only other team besides that really needs a quarterback is Atlanta. And they may go out and get somebody, but even if they go out and get Jimmy Garoppolo, Seattle could go out and get Baker Mayfield if they wanted to. So, and also it appears they look like being somewhat content with Drew Lock being a stopgap for a year. I think he's terrible. I think the lost call, a complete bust, former second-round pick by Denver, who was just full-time star 2 years ago. Was not good. Started 3 games last year when Teddy Bridgewater was hurt. Didn't show me anything. So I don't think he's any good, but maybe they'll try him. I think they might try him out. Seattle, the O-line isn't great, but they already need defense. The Legion of Boom defense, you remember, they are gone. Not a single NFL player from that team, from those defenses are on an NFL team. I mean, Bobby Wagner is out. Also, he's on the Rams. But I'm not even sure if he was on that team. Rock, I don't know if you have that information. If so, he was very, very young. I think he was, but he was very, very young. He was not quite the guy he was now. Cliff Avrils, he had to retire because of injuries. Cam Chancellor had to retire because of injuries. Richard Sherman's not on the team right now. He's washed. I think they have like Brendan Brown there on that team. He's out of the league. Bruce Irvin's out of the league. He retired. Earl Thomas is out of the league, although he wants to come back. He hasn't played in like 2 years. He's out of the league. It's crazy. That wasn't even that long ago. The team that won the Super Bowl, that was 2013 season. That was 9 years ago, and they still had the Legion of Boom defense in like 2015, I think. So it's been only like 5, 6, 7 years, and no, the entire team is gone. So they got to address defense, and you got Trayvon Walker, who's an excellent edge rusher there. Obviously, they love their defense. Seattle's got to get back to what made them successful in the first place. And when Russell Wilson was at the top of this game, he made really good running games with Marshawn Lynch, and of course, really good defenses with the Legion of Boom. So they start with the defensive side of the ball. And I think they take Trayvon Walker, edge rusher out of Georgia, who I disagree. Jaguars might take him number 1, but definitely should be a top 10 pick. He's a great player, and Seattle goes and gets him at number 9. And at number 10 is the New York Jets. My Jets are back up again. So they went offensive line with the first pick. Now I think they got to go defense. Their defense was awful, probably the worst in the league. People knock Robert Saleh, and I do think he has a lot to learn. He made some mistakes for sure in his first year, but look for defense. Outside of Quentin Williams, a really good young defensive tackle from a 3rd overall pick. He's a great player. You had Mosley healthy last year. He's a good middle linebacker. That's really all they had last year. But so they had a bunch of rookies and young, inexperienced guys who shouldn't even be in the league. But it's the Jets. They got nobody else. Also, remember, Carl Olsen missed the entire year last year. Supposed to be the top edge rusher. He missed the entire year. He tore his Achilles in training camp. So, but 10th pick, I think they got to go defense. They could use an edge rusher. They could really use help at all phases of the defensive side of the ball. But safety was a big weakness for them last year. By the end of the year, the guys they were starting, I literally did not know who they were. I couldn't even name them now. I mean, and they also lost Marcus May in the offseason. He was hurt last year anyway, but he went healthy. He's a very good player. He signed with the Saints in the offseason. And they signed Jordan Whitehead from Tampa, who's a pretty good player. He'll probably start, but they don't have really another safety that I consider a starting caliber on their roster. And early on in the draft process, they were talking a lot about Kyle Hamilton. They seem to really like him at Notre Dame. Definitely the top safety in his class. He's a great player. Notre Dame, they can't win a big game for their life, but they do produce some good NFL talent. Not like the quarterback position, but they produce a lot of good offensive linemen, and they do produce some good defensive players, and even some running backs every once in a while. So, Kyle Hamilton, safety at Notre Dame, is who I have going 10th to the New York Jets. They get a safety that they really need. They actually have a couple of good young corners. They signed DJ Reed this offseason. I thought Brayden Eccles, who was a mid-rounder last year, I think a fifth-round pick last year, played well in his rookie year. I'm not going to call him a second. I think a fourth or fifth-rounder last year, but I thought he played well last year. So they do have a couple of good young corners that I like. So I say now they go to the safety position, and they continue to build that secondary from the ground up. And they draft Kyle Hamilton. So that's what I have the Jets doing. So that's the top 10. I'll recap the entire draft after the draft is over, just so I'm not, continuing to repeat myself after every few picks, so we can kind of move this thing along. But with the 11th overall pick, is the Washington Commanders. Out with a new team name. They've had a bit of a tough offseason. Allegations going on about their owner Dan Snyder. We knew about the assault allegations in their organization. Now people are saying Dan Snyder himself did some stuff. I won't get into that, but it's very unfortunate. Hopefully that investigation wraps up quickly, and Dan Snyder can never own a professional sports team ever again. And for Washington fans, they should honestly hope that. He's an awful owner anyway. I think his wife's running the team. I don't even know. Anyway, back to the draft. Washington, last year, a bit of a disappointment. We thought with their defense, we thought it would be like one of the league's best units, and we thought they might win the division last year. Instead, defense was not as good as we thought. The secondary really struggled. Chase Young got hurt. Tyler Heineke was their quarterback last year. He was not great. He had quite a few really good games, but overall was very mediocre. Ryan Fitzpatrick missed the entire season. So Washington struggled last year. I think when they only had like 7 wins last year. So they have a couple of needs. They definitely need another wide receiver, for sure. They need another piece for whoever the quarterback's going to be. Assuming it's going to be Carson Wentz, who I think is terrible, but they traded 2 third rounders to get him for whatever reason. I don't think where you fit, but that is their quarterback next year. They could use another defensive back. Their secondary struggled last year. It wasn't even the front seven, right? They were good against the run, and their front seven, when healthy, was as advertised, which we all know is very, very talented with Chase Young and all those guys they got. So those are their main needs for sure. Maybe another piece on the O-line. Their O-line is decent. It could use another piece there. But they're in another receiver. I think it's their biggest need. And you got Drake London sitting there at USC. He's a great player. He had some injuries last year. He's got some red flags with the medical. But if he stays healthy, I think this guy is going to be an absolute stud. So Drake London at USC, I have him going 11th overall to Washington. And hopefully he's a solid number 2 option next to Terry McLaurin for Carson Wentz for Washington. Overall, I have them. It's the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, they made a coach and GM change. Mike Zimmer's out. They brought in Kevin O'Connell from the Rams to be their head coach and to be their GM. Oh, I'm blanking. Rick Spielman was let go, and their new GM. Well, I'm blanking on who they brought in. I'm actually just going to look it up. So it says it's still Rick Spielman. He's obviously not. Oh, Cressy Adolfo-Mensah is still new GM. They brought him in from the Cleveland Browns. All right, so new coach, new GM for them. They missed the playoffs. They've missed the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. So we'll see what they do from here. But I think they got to go defense here. Offense is not a problem. Kirk Cousins, he's not going to win him a Super Bowl, but he's a very good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. They signed him through next year, so they're not going to take a quarterback, obviously. They got Dalvin Cook, who's a top running back. Justin Jefferson's a stud. Adam Thielen's really good. They got a really good offense. The O-line could use a little bit of help, but they really need help on defense. You got Danielle Hunter some help. He's not the same player anyway. Secondary has been terrible for the last couple of years, which is why I think they go defensive back here. I have them taking Derek Stingley, corner at LSU. He's a guy who's extremely talented. His first year there, he was a beast. Has regressed a little bit his last 2 years. He's had some injuries. But he's a guy who we've seen the talent is there. He's very raw, but he's so talented. Chance to be a great player in this league. Third-generation guy. His dad played in the league. This guy was born to play football. I think he's going to be a really good player, and the Vikings take him at 12th overall. Then 13th overall, we have the Houston Texans, who took Evan Neal with the second overall pick. The third overall pick. The Houston Texans took Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama. So since they went offense, they probably go defense, 13th pick, since they have needs all over the roster. So, the 13th pick, I have them taking Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher out of Florida State. A lot of people may not know too much about this guy, but he's really good. This is a stacked edge rusher class. A lot of really good edge rushers in this class, especially at the top. You had 3 going in the top 10, including each of the first 2 picks in my draft. So, in other drafts, he would probably be the first edge off the board, maybe the second edge off the board. But he kind of gets lost in the sauce because of how many guys there are in this draft. But he's really good. I think he'll be a great player for a long time. And he goes 13th overall to the Houston Texans. Next up is the Baltimore Ravens, who are picking 14th overall. Ravens last year started off 8-3. And then from there, kind of fell apart. Lost the last 6 games of the year, had a ton of injuries, including to their quarterback, Lamar Jackson, and finished at 8-9 and missed the playoffs. Their top needs, they could use maybe another receiver for Lamar. O-line could use a little help, but getting Ronnie Skelly back will help. He was injured last year, and they definitely use another edge rusher. Right now, there's really not another edge rusher worth taking. So, they're probably looking at receivers or offensive line. There's a couple of really good receivers available. In Jameson Williams of Alabama, he would have already been off the board if he was healthy, but he's still there because coming up to ACL, and Chris Olave of Ohio State, who at the beginning of the year we thought might be the first receiver off the board. Right tackle has been a looming issue for quite a few years for the Ravens. They circle through a bunch of guys. They tried, obviously they had Orlando Brown for a couple of years. He was fantastic, but after he did not want to play right tackle, he wanted to play left tackle and only left tackle. They were forced to tag and trade him to the Chiefs for a couple of draft picks. Last year they signed Alejandro Villanueva, who had a good career, very good career at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe that is the guy who was in the military. Thank you for your service, sir. But he was not good last year at all. He got benched, and right tackle was a revolving door last year. I think they solved that problem, and they take Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa. He's a very good player. He's a mammoth man. Again, like the edge rusher, offensive tackle class is very, very deep and very, very good. He's a guy not a lot of guys are familiar with. He kind of gets lost in the sauce with all these O tackles. You got, I had 30 going in the top 5. So, he kind of gets lost, but in another direct class, could have been the first or second O tackle off the board. He'll be really good for a long time. I have him going 14th overall to the Ravens, and now they get Ronnie Skelly back, and that gives them 2 real good young tackles now. Hopefully that keeps Lamar upright, and the Ravens are going to run all day, every day, with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards also healthy. Next up is the Philadelphia Eagles at 15th overall. So the Eagles last year were a bit of a surprise, went 9-8 and made the playoffs. Jalen Hurts, he he made some mistakes. He had some games where he really should have thrown the ball, but he also showed a lot of promise. He ran really well. He had the number one run game in the league last year. Pretty good defense, and ended up getting them in the playoffs. So for the Eagles, they could use another receiver for sure. Maybe in their defensive back. There's a couple Eagles fans on this app. There's some Philly guys on this app. So they wouldn't mind seeing them take a defensive back because of the depth in the receiver class. But that being said, there's two receivers that are staring me right in the face right now. You got Jameson Williams of Alabama. Of course, he was healthy. Probably would have already been off the board. But, excuse me, he is still there. And Chris Olave of Ohio State. I think Jameson Williams has maybe a higher ceiling, but the Eagles, they are a team that I think they can win now and go back to the playoffs next year. They look in their division. They think the Cowboys are right. They won 12 wins last year, but obviously lost in the first round, and they lost a bunch of pieces this offseason because of the cap crunch. The Washington's nothing special. Carson Wentz is nothing special. They didn't do a ton this offseason. The Giants got maybe a little bit better, but they're not going to be any good. They probably won't make the playoffs. This is a division that we might be able to win by getting 9 or 10 wins, and they went 9-8 last year. And didn't really lose really anybody noticeable. So, Jalen Hurts needs some more weapons. Only guy that really had last year was Golladay, their tight end, and Devonta Smith, their rookie receiver, who's really good. I think will be a great player. So, I think they're not going to want to wait on Jameson Williams to come back from his injury. I think they're one guy that can step in right away and be a really good number 2 receiver to Devonta Smith. So, I have them going with Chris Olave, receiver out of Ohio State. I think that they're the only guy that will be able to be right day one. And Chris Olave can do that, which James Williams may not be able to do. So I got Olave going 15th to the Eagles. With the 16th overall pick, I have the New Orleans Saints at 16. Saints last year, I'll step back without Drew Brees. 9-8, came out a little short of the playoffs, and then Sean Payton stepped down after the year. He's doing what looks like a temporary retirement, but a retirement nonetheless. So they promoted their defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, to be their next head coach. But they entered the offseason $70 million over the cap. So they did not have room to bring in anybody. They lost Terran Armstead, their left tackle. They lost Marcus Williams, another really good player at their safety. Also a couple of really good players. So they, didn't really have the assets to bring in guys. They had to stick with Jameis Winston on a 2-year deal. He did play well before he got hurt. So maybe it could be a good short-term solution. We shall see. But they could use another offensive tackle to replace Armstead. Maybe a DB with both their safeties retiring. Malcolm Jenkins' next retirement. And Marcus Williams left in free agency. But it's not a safety really worth taking. So they probably go to the number 1 name, which is wide receiver. Michael Thomas has played 5 games the last 2 years. Can't stay healthy. We don't know what he'll be when he's been on the field. Last time he was healthy, he was a beast. He set the receiver catches record, but we'll see what he does. And they got nobody really else there. Jameis is going to need some weapons, so I think this is where Jameson Williams goes. His slide stops. He goes 16th overall to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints probably figure, all right, we got Jameis Winston as a quarterback this year. And they're back up to Andy Dalton. As for, Alvin Kamara probably going to get suspended. Their star running back. They have a really good defense, but they do lose a couple pieces. They lose a piece on the offensive line. There wasn't much they can do this offseason. Lost their longtime head coach. So they are probably going to have a tough time this year. May not make the playoffs, so they probably figure, let's just take the best player we can. Even if they have to wait for him to come back from his injury, middle of the season, I think they'll be okay with that. So he goes to the Saints. So 17th overall is the Los Angeles Chargers. They had a very busy offseason. They got Khalil Mack. They got J.C. Jackson. They're looking like a really good team led by Justin Herbert. They're looking like they'll be in good shape. They don't have too many weaknesses on this team. After they got a quarterback. Jordan Davis is still there. He's a really good player, but they didn't really need an interior D lineman. They got Kevin Hargrave and Fletcher Cox was re-signed there, so there really isn't any room for him. So I think they're going to look to the cornerback position. They did sign J.C. Jackson for $82.5 million. He's top 3 in interceptions the last 2 years. Might even be number 1. But I'm not sure who their number 2 corner is. They got a defensive head coach in Brandon Staley who didn't really have many pieces besides Joey Bosa and Derwin James last year. So I think they're going to take Trent McDuffie, corner out of Washington, who is a very good player. I think he goes to the Chargers, and they continue to rebuild that defense. That's who I have the Chargers taken at 17th overall. 18th overall, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles, they went, they got 2 ones, and they had 3. They gave one to the Saints in that really weird trade where they gave the Saints. They gave the Saints a couple picks, and then the Saints gave them some picks. They gave them I think a first runner next year too. So they also have the 18th pick. They were like a receiver. Yeah, they went receiver first. Chris Olave at 15 and 18. I think they look on defense. There's some really good players like Jordan Davis available, but they got a really good defensive line. In the middle, they got Fletcher Cox, who's past his prime but still a good player, and they got Kevin Hargrave. Brandon Graham is very good coming off the edge, but that group is getting a little old. And also, the team that plays 4-3, that second defensive end, they didn't really have. Derek Barnett's been a bit of a bust. He hasn't done anything special. He's a good rotational edge rusher, but not really a difference maker. And I think they're going to look at George Karlaftis out of Purdue. Karlaftis is a really good player. He had a really good college career at Purdue. I think will be very good in the NFL. And I think the Eagles are going to take him at the 18th pick. He's really good, George Karlaftis. I think a sleeper on this draft, and I think he goes 18th overall the Eagles for that reason. So then we got the 19th pick. Saints are up again. Remember, they made the trade the Eagles to get an extra first rounder. And then they gave up a couple of mid-round picks, and they gave up their first next year. They got a 19th pick, took receiver Jameson Williams with their first pick. Great player. Just hope he's healthy. Might miss the start of the season. We'll see. So now they have the 19th pick. So the Saints, defense is their strong suit. Offense is where they need to focus. They could go for another receiver, but going receiver, when they're a team that has similar needs, just because they lost some pieces in the offseason. The secondary could use a little bit of help. You got Marshall Lamar, who's a great player, but they don't really have a proven number 2 corner over there. And of course, they all booked their safeties in the offseason, so I think they look at Andrew Booth Jr. out of Clemson, and they think Clemson's produced so much talent the last 2 years. They're going to hope that he's the same thing. They get some secondary help. They give Marshall Lamar a partner on the outside. They take cornerback Andrew Booth out of Clemson. That's who I have going 19th overall, the Saints. 20th overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, obviously with Ben Roethlisberger retiring, are doing a rare change for a top position in the quarterback position. They also need more offensive line help. They could use some help in the secondary as well. But being said, right now their starter is not Kenny Pickett. Their starter right now, I probably just gave away my pick, but that's okay. Their starter right now is Mitch Trubisky, who is terrible. He's not good at all. And Mason Rudolph is not it either. And they got Kenny Pickett sitting there, a kid who I'm not sure about him. We'll see. They're making a big deal about the small hands. I mean, his hands were very small for a quarterback. They made a big. They've hiked up some other ones in the past that were really dumb. This one's slightly more reasonable, but still, I think it's kind of dumb. As long as he's good, I don't think his hand size should really matter personally. But his are pretty small. And also he's not a very good runner. That being said, he's a really good pocket passer, which in today's league is kind of disappearing. But he does have some talent. He went to college at Pitt. I'm not sure if he's from Pittsburgh, but that would be a really good story for him to kind of play close to home. He plays, really I'm not sure the same stadium, not the same stadium, but the same place where he basically went to college. And, people don't realize their offensive coordinator is Matt Canada. He used to be a college coach recently, so he knows how hard the transition is from college to the pros. Mike Tomlin's a great head coach to develop him. So I think the Pittsburgh Steelers take a chance on a local cadet at Pitt, and they take Kenny Pickett with the 20th overall pick in the draft. Kenny Pickett, who went to Pitt, stays in Pittsburgh, goes to the Steelers. 21st overall is the New England Patriots. The Patriots returned to their winning ways a tiny bit last year. Made the playoffs as a wild card. They got shellacked in the first round by the Bills, but did make the playoffs. Mac Jones played very well as a rookie. And they have a couple of needs. Could use another receiver. I know they picked up Devontae Parker. I don't see him really as the number one guy. They got him. I think Nelson Aguilar's still there. They got somebody else maybe. They got Kendrick Bourne, who's a very good player. So they got a couple receivers. Could use another red rusher. Another defensive back with J.C. Jackson leaving. But right now, there's a name on the board by the name of Jordan Davis. This guy is a freak. This guy weighs like 340 pounds, runs like a 4.78. That's insane. He moves like almost too fast for a guy his size. He's scary. He moves scary fast. Patriots don't really have a defensive tackle that blows you away. So I think the Patriots are going to go out and they are going to get a guy who probably should have gone a while ago. The way this draft is built, he falls. Take the best player available in Jordan Davis out of Georgia, a stud defensive tackle. Absolute freakish athlete. 22nd overall is the Green Bay Packers. By the way, in case you're wondering, I do have a couple trades in this draft. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of them this year. But I do have a couple trades. They're just a little bit later in the draft, just so you know. So the 22nd overall pick is the Green Bay Packers. Rucker Rocks. Your Green Bay Packers are now up. 22nd overall. And they were able to convince Aaron Rodgers to stay, but they also lost Devontae Adams. They made the best receiver in football. They had to trade him to the Raiders. And they did re-sign linebacker Devondre Campbell. They re-signed Rojo Douglas. but they do lose Devontae Adams. The Packers really need a receiver. They really don't have any receivers that impress me. Sammy Watkins is okay. They might still have like Alan Lazard or something. They do not have a true number one wide receiver. And Roger, as great as he is, he's not getting any younger. Ooh, we have a couple people. Wow, we just have like 3 people jumping at the same time. We have Pat Rush, Lynx, and R.C. Milton. Welcome in, guys. I'm doing my mock draft special today. I'm up to the 22nd pick with the Green Bay Packers. I'll recap the whole thing afterwards. And feel free to interact. Please do. We got the Green Bay Packers up now. 22nd overall. They were in need of a wide receiver, and they got Traylon Burks staring them right in the face. And of Arkansas, he's a very swifty receiver out of Arkansas, and I think they take a chance on him. He goes to the Packers. And someone just dipped, I think. That was Link. But thank you, Link, for popping in. Thank you, everyone who's here. 23rd overall is the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona's had an interesting offseason with the whole Kyler Murray thing. It's calmed down for now, but we'll see where that goes. I heard you might want a contract extension, but you're absolutely not drafting the quarterback right now. I don't think they need another receiver. You know, Hopkins healthy. You reach on A.J. Green. I know Kirk's not there, but you also have Rondale Moore. O-line's okay. I like Talkin a lot. I think he'll be a really good player. He's a center. That being said, they already have Rodney Hudson, so they really don't need him. They could use some help on defense. They got a couple of good linebackers there in Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons. So they could take a linebacker, but they could use some interior defensive line, I think. Defensive line is definitely in need. You know, they lost Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt at the end of his career, and he can't stay healthy. So I think they go with Deontay Wyatt out of Georgia. Defensive tackle out of Georgia. I mean, he kind of went under the radar with Jordan Davis playing at the same school as him. So I think Deontay Wyatt goes to the Arizona Cardinals. He's going to be a really good player. He'll be a great interior D lineman. That's who I have going to Arizona. 24th overall, I have the Dallas Cowboys. They had a rough offseason, Dallas. They lost a really good right tackle, La'el Collins. They traded their top receiver on Amari Cooper. Not retaining Randy Gregory won't help. He's a really good edge rusher. So that's a really tough situation for Dallas. Can't say I'm happy. I can't stand the Cowboys, but that is the situation. Sean Jerry, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on, Sean? I'm doing my mock draft special. I'm up to the 24th overall pick. Feel free to interact if you want to say something about one of my picks. Please do. Whether it's positive or negative, I'm open to all sides. Dallas can go a couple spots here. They got a lot of talent on offense. I think Dak is very overrated, but he's a decent quarterback at least. They got a lot of pieces on offense still, so they should probably focus on defense. You got Trayvon Diggs, who's a great corner. He gives up a lot of deep balls, but he's got a great, eye for ball hawking. Micah Parsons is insane. Linebacker, can they play edge rusher? Can play middle linebacker, or whatever you need him for. But they could use another defensive back. They got to help out Trayvon Diggs, who as great as he is, 11 picks last year. He got torched a lot too. So I think they go and get a defensive back here. I think the pick is actually Daxton Hill here, safety out of Michigan. I think they don't need another linebacker. They got Parsons. They got Van Der Esch when healthy, still pretty good player. And they just really need safety's been a huge hole for them for a few years now, and they fill out by taking Daxton Hill out of Michigan. Then we got 25th overall pick. I actually have a trade. My first trade of a draft. Rucker Rocks, you're going to be happy to hear this one. I have the Green Bay Packers moving up from the 28th overall pick. I have the Packers trading up they acquire a 25th overall pick from the Buffalo Bills. In return, they give the Buffalo Bills the 28th overall pick, and they also give the Bills a fourth round draft selection this year's draft to move up 3 spots. That is my trade I have. The Packers making, so the Packers will move up to the 25th pick, and they already. I had them taking a receiver. I got them taking Traylon Burks. Yes, I did. 22nd right. They took Traylon Burks. Sean for Denver Broncos. Actually, Sean, I'm only doing the right one. The Denver Broncos do not have a first round pick because they made the trade for Russell Wilson, so they do not have a first round pick. They gave up their first year for Russell Wilson, so unfortunately they did not have a first round pick. So when I'm only doing the first round, but when I'm done with the first round, I'm going to ask you guys, if there's any prospect you think could go in the second round that you think will be really good. You want to give your takes on your team who will go then, it's fine. For the Chicago Bears, actually, Sean, the Bears do not have the first round pick either because they gave that pick to the Giants. Last year, when they traded up to get Justin Fields, they gave their first round pick this year as well to get Justin Fields. So the Bears do not have a first round pick either, unfortunately. Yeah, that's tough, but they did get a quarterback who I think could be the franchise quarterback in Justin Fields. We'll see how they do this year. So the Bills at 25, the Packers at 25. I think they move up. And Rucker Rock's the winner. Yes, he is. Rucker Rock, if you want to comment what you think of what I have the Packers doing. Their O-line really struggled last year. They had a lot of injuries. They'll get back at Thierry, their left tackle. On their guards, Jenkins will be healthy. But showing for the Baltimore Ravens, with the 14th pick, I had them taking Trevor Penning, offensive tackle out of Northern Iowa. That's why I had going to the Baltimore Ravens. And for the 25th pick, I have the Packers moving up, and they get some off the lineup. I have them taking Tyler Lindenbaum out of Iowa. He's a center. They drafted Josh Myers last year, who played center. I'm sure they can move Myers over. I wonder if they can even move Lindenbaum over to guard. And he's a really good player. Earlier in the draft process, I thought he might be a top 10 guy. He's kind of fallen down the boards, but I have the Packers moving on getting him at the 25th pick. Thank you very much, Sean. He mentioned the different offensive line now. I agree. It's we're in the same boat. Also right tackle specifically has been a revolving door for a few years. So I would move up for him, to be honest. I think that's fair. Centers are centers. They're very, very important. But you can find them, in third, fourth round sometimes. But I figured the Packers have a couple needs because Aaron Rodgers needs to take every single penny. They have a lot of big contracts. They had no cap space, so they had to lose Devontae Adams. They couldn't add to their team besides bringing back Devondre Cain and Russell Douglas. So I figured, all right, they got the extra one for Adams. I thought they would move up, and I just thought he was the best player available. And they need as much O-line help as they can get. Their O-line was really bad last year. And now they get back those two big guys I mentioned, and now they draft Lindenbaum. They can kind of rework their O-line, which they really need to do. Because Aaron Rodgers is a good scrambler, but he's not really a great runner, and he's going to be 38 years old, so he's not gotten any younger. We all know if he gets hurt, the Packers would probably be done. So I don't have confidence in Jordan Love. I don't know about you, Rocker Rocks. You see him more than I do, but I don't have confidence in Jordan Love. Or so if we move up for O-line, I would take Raymond from Central Michigan or Johnson from Boston College first. Is natural tackle. Second is natural guard. Zion Johnson is very good at Boston College. I was thinking about going with him. He's a straight guard, well, a little more of a straight center. They might feel that it's one more of a knee, but I think Lindenbaum I think he's a big sleeper in this draft. I think he's really, really talented. I think he's just so much better than Zion Johnson that should be to pass out. But I'm actually not familiar with Raymond from Central Michigan. I'm not too familiar with him. This thing doesn't rank 43rd. I mean, every site is different. We'll see how he turns out. If he ends up being a fantastic player, we'll have to remember this and remember that Rucker Rocks will be like, hey, I told you guys. So 26th overall pick for Tennessee Titans are up now. Pretty good year last year. Number one seed in the AFC, but lost in the second round. Well, it should be a first. 9 out of 10 team is a first, so we shall see. 26th overall, the Titans. I think this is where Zion Johnson goes. Speaking of Zion Johnson, I think he goes here. 26th to the Titans. Their O-line really struggled last year. They're a really good team. Ryan Tannehill is what he is, but they're not taking a quarterback here. I don't think, at least. They got Derrick Henry as a stud. They got A.J. Brown's a stud, assuming he doesn't get traded, which I don't think he will. Defense actually played very well last year. So, O-line was pretty bad last year, so they take Zion Johnson, offensive guard at Boston College. That boosts their O-line. And they cut Roger Saffold in the offseason, so that feels neat as well. It'll be 27th pick. I actually have another trade. I have 27 was supposed to be the Bucks, but I have the Chiefs who have 2 first rounders. I have them moving up from 30 to 27. I have the Chiefs getting the 27th pick to the Bucks. They get the 27th pick from the Bucks, and in exchange, they give the Bucks the 30th pick, and they also give them a 3rd rounder as well as a 5th rounder. So, Chiefs move up 3 spots. They give up one of their first rounders and 3 and a 5. So the Chiefs move up to number 27, and they did a tough offseason with their top receiver Tyreek Hill getting traded. They haven't returned Tyrann Mathieu yet. I say cheat with a draft a wide receiver, maybe a slot. That's very interesting. We shall see what the pick is. And they lose Hill, obviously. Looks like Tyrann Mathieu's not coming back since they signed Justin Reed. He actually remains unsigned, surprisingly, Tyrann Mathieu. And they didn't really address their defense, which has a lot of holes. So I think they move up. And I actually have them taking linebacker Devin Lloyd out of Utah. I think the top linebacker available. Nakobe Dean's very good as well. I got them taking Devin Lloyd out of Utah. By the way, in the Mets Cardinals, there was a major bench clearing incident, a lot of pushing and shoving. I don't think any punches were throwing. The Mets were just targeting hit by pitches. So that's a side note. But I have the Chiefs moving up to take Devin Lloyd, the 27th pick. Linebacker. I think he's really, really good. And they need to replace Anthony Hitchens, who they cut in the offseason. From 20th overall pick, as a result of the Packers-Bills trade, the Bills moved down. They have a 28th pick. So, we'll see. So that's all I have. Bills, the reason I think they moved down because they didn't really have a need that's glaring. They're such a complete team. They got Josh Allen. They got so many weapons. They got a great D. So that means that they could use another corner. They got Tre'Davious White's coming off an injury. I'm not sure if Little Elf has been re-signed yet, but corner is a slight weakness for them. So I think that's what they do. But so I am taking Khair Alam, corner out of Florida. That's who I have them taking. He's a pretty good player. He's real solid. A lot of good corners in this draft. I have him going 20th overall to the Bills. The Bills trade down and get him. Sean said, I can see them probably maybe using an Apple Pay to get a corner or either a renovate or whatever is available at that point. So Sean, I think you're saying them get a corner, yeah. Yeah, the Bills could use another corner. And now the 29th pick, the Kansas City Chiefs are up again. They have 2 first-round picks. I had them moving up to number 27 from 30 to get their first guy. They're up at 29 again. They win defense. They have a couple things they could do. They could go defense again. Their defense was not for well. They had like a 7-week stretch where they played really well, but the rest of the year they were not very good. Maybe another piece on the O-line. Maybe even another receiver. Well, correct. Got me by last night. I could see him grabbing a running back or a corner, whichever was available at the point. Yeah, I actually agree, Sean. Yeah, their run game has been great the last couple of years. Devin Singletary down the stretch played better. I didn't see it. The running backs probably be more in the second round, but I wouldn't honestly be shocked if they took a running back. If they get another running back, that offense would be really scary looking. Like I said, the Chiefs could go defense again, maybe O-line, maybe receiver after trading Tyreek Hill. I mean, they did sign Juju Smith-Schuster, who's very good. Also coming off an injury, and he's not exactly, a great locker room guy, or he might be. I've heard he's good enough. He's not a terrible teammate. He's just a very stupid person with his TikToks. But we said, he's not going to be doing them with Jackson Mahomes, so maybe he's going to put that to bed. I don't think Andy Reid would like that. So, they have a couple different ways they can go here. I just think they're not going to be able to replace Tyreek Hill's production, but they got to at least try. They signed Juju, who's a very good player. They did sign Marcus Valdes-Scantling from the Packers. I thought they overpaid him. They gave him $36 million over 3 years. Bucker Rocks, I know you watch him every day. What do you think about him? Is he good? Is he bad? Right contract or not? You want to put your thoughts on that in the chat. Or share your thoughts with us. But I think the Chiefs got to get another receiver. And I have him taking Jahan Dotson at Penn State. I think he's a very good player. He's got good speed. A lot of good receivers in this draft, and I think he gets where he goes. For a good receiver, slower, but I agree. He's a pretty good player. He's not a bad second or third guy. But yeah, whatever, 12 or 13 million, whatever he got, I think it's a little much. He just based on his production to this point in his career. The 30th pick, I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers moving down from 27 to 30 to end up with the 30th pick. Bucks, obviously Brady's back. Re-signed a bunch of guys. They brought back Fournette, their running back. They tagged Chris Godwin again. He's coming off an injury. Re-signed their center, Jensen. And they get all the guys. They have a couple of holes here. They did lose both their guards, and Ali Marpet, who retired, and Alex Cabell signed with the Bengals. Did trade for Shaq Mason, which was a steal again for a 5th-round pick. Guy Brain knows from New England. But they still have a hole at guard. Ethan Pierre-Paul's going to re-sign yet, so they could go out and get another edge rusher. But I see him grabbing a linebacker. I think that's very possible. I think they could get a linebacker. I could see them doing it, but they do have Devin White and Levante David, who are both great players. So I actually am doing something a little bit different. I have them going for Kenyon Green, an offensive guard at Texas A&M. So this is an interior line, I believe is a guard. Texas A&M, they lost both their guards this offseason. They lost Ali Marpet to retirement now. It's cap and free agency. They replaced one of them by getting Shaq Mason from New England, and now they replaced their other guard by getting Kenyon Green from at Texas A&M. Someone just dipped, I think. I think that was RC. Thank you for tuning in, RC. We got Rocker Rocks and Sean. 31st pick, I have another trade. I had 3 trades at the very end of this draft. I figured I might as well put them in. I don't think there'll be very many trades this year, so the way the draft is. Not a lot of teams are going to want to move up, I don't think. But usually there's about 5. The average is 5 per year, so I thought, all right, 3 is a below average number. I'll do that number. So, I actually have the Bengals trading out of the first round. I have the Seattle Seahawks move into the first round. I feel like every year is one team that moves from the second round into the first round. So I think Seattle is that team. They got a lot of picks back for Russell Wilson. And I have them trading the 40th overall pick a 4th rounder, and a 2nd rounder, and a 4th rounder in 2023 to the Cincinnati Bengals for the 31st overall pick. And no, I do not have them taking a quarterback, just because I don't think it's worth giving up a bunch. I haven't given up 4 draft picks maybe to move up. And this year's class, although you could take maybe Matt Corral just in one of the last 2 picks of the 1st round, I don't think it's really worth giving up 4 picks for one in this year's draft. Wow, I'm watching this brawl in the Mets and the Cardinals. No, now, like Chef Tobacino. Wow, it's crazy. I think this should referencing a right corner. I think that's very possible, Sean. They do need a corner very badly. Unfortunately, I don't see a top corner really that's available right now, so I'm going to go in a different direction. I think they do that, but I do think they stay on defense. The defense needs a lot of help, even though they at 9 and they took Trayvon Walker. I think they take Nakobe Dean, linebacker out of Georgia. Losing Bobby Wagner is a big loss. They cut him, which it made sense. You know, they're rebuilding without Russell Wilson. That saved them like $18 million in cap space. But I have them taking Nakobe Dean with the 31st pick. They move up to Nakobe Dean, who I think is a really good player. Linebacker out of Georgia. A lot of Georgia defenders in this year's class. We're going to look back and be like, wow. It's 8 or 9 guys that might go in the NFL from that defense. And last but not least, to Detroit Lions, so I'm going to say last but not least, but 32nd overall, the Detroit Lions. I could see them going quarterback. Jared Goff's not the answer. But I don't think Matt Corral or Desmond Ridder are first-round type quarterbacks. Some people might disagree with me, but I don't like the quarterbacks at all. I think Malik Willis has some talent. Maybe Kenny Pickett. But these other guys I don't see much in. The Lions, it could really go anywhere. This last pick, they took David out 2nd overall. I think they stay on defense. Their offense was actually pretty good last year. Goff wasn't that great, but they got some good weapons. They got some good O-linemen. I think they stay on defense. And I have them taking, although I really like David Ohabo. If it wasn't for the 20 years, he would be off the board, you see. Sean, Kenny Pickett actually went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I had him going 20th overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I agree. If he was still on the board, I would definitely have to go to the Lions. He's definitely, I think, worth at least a 1st-round pick. That, I think, would be a good choice. But he is off the board. He went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really like David Ohabo, edge rusher out of Michigan, but he's coming off a torn Achilles. That was so bad. All the scouts just watching him cry in pain. Just one guy just picked up the ball. That was so dumb. Pathetic. Anyway, but the Lions already went edge rusher. They got Romeo Okwara, if it was a good player on the roster, right? They don't really need an edge rusher anymore. I think they're leaning away from that. They do have Trayvon Walker, who's a good young safety, but he doesn't really have a partner over there. Welcome in Prince. I'm just finishing up my mock draft. I'm on the 32nd pick. And I have the Lions taking Louis Cine. Safety out of Georgia. Another Georgia defender goes off the board. I have him going to the Detroit Lions as they address defense in the 1st round. Well, I'm just going to save this mock draft, and then I will go over it again. And then I'm going to do some questions to ask you if there's any prospects that you guys think will make an impact that are still available. If you want to give what your picks and what you think your teams might do in the mid-rounds. I had Aiden Hutchinson 1st overall, edge rusher out of Michigan to the Jaguars, keeping them 2nd to the Lions. Evan Neal 3rd to the Texans. O-tackle Kema Kwanu, whatever his name is. Rucker Rock got him. That might be a nice mock. Thank you so much, Rucker Rock. Thank you for tuning in. No reason I won't be there tomorrow. I should be there for most of your show tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow on lunch break at noon Eastern. Giants 5th overall Charles Cross. O-tackle out of Mississippi State. Panthers took quarterback Malik Willis 6th overall out of Liberty. 7th, Giants took corner Ahmad Gardner. At Cincinnati, 8th. Falcons took Garrett Wilson, receiver at Ohio State. 9th. Seahawks took edge rusher Trayvon Walker out of Georgia. 10th, Jets went with safety Cal Hamilton out of Notre Dame. 11th, Washington went with Drake London, receiver at USC. 12th, the Vikings took Derek Stingley, corner out of LSU. 13th, Houston took Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher out of Florida State. 14th, Ravens took offensive tackle Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa. 15th, Eagles took receiver Chris Olave out of Ohio State. 16th, Saints took receiver Jameson Williams out of Alabama. 17th overall, Chargers took corner Trent McDuffie out of Washington. Eagles took edge rusher George Karlaftis, 18th overall out of Purdue. 19th overall, Saints took corner Andrew Booth Jr. out of Clemson. 20th, Steelers took quarterback Kenny Pickett out of Pitt. 21st, Patriots took Jordan Davis, defensive tackle out of Georgia. 22nd overall, Packers took receiver Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. 23rd, Cardinals took Deontay Wyatt, D lineman out of Georgia. 24th, Cowboys took Jacksonville safety out of Michigan. 25th, I had the Packers moving up to take center Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa. 26th, I had Titans taking Zion Johnson, offensive guard out of Boston College. 27th, I had the Chiefs moving up to take linebacker Devin Lloyd out of Utah. 28th, the Bills moved down to get corner Khair Elam out of Florida. 29th, I had the Chiefs taking wide receiver Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. 30th, I had the Bucs moving down to take offensive guard Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M. 31st, I have the Seahawks moving into the first round to take linebacker Kobe Dean out of Georgia. And 32nd overall, to round off the first round, I had the Detroit Lions taking safety Louis Sine out of Georgia. That is my first round NFL 2022 mock draft. Hope you guys enjoy it. Sean, I think Laugh Rock says he's still in here. If anybody's in here, if they want to give their take on who, if there is any prospects on the board that they think will make an impact that did not go in my first round, if they want to give their take on who maybe their team that they root for, we'll take in the second round and the mid rounds. Feel free. But I think no one else is in here anymore since Sean's gone, and Rock is in here, but he just said that he has to leave. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in today. That was a lot of fun. My mock draft. Enjoy the draft tomorrow. I will be casting tomorrow. I won't be casting the draft. I will be color casting tomorrow. Just my normal cast. We'll of course talk about the draft a lot, but we will talk about some other stuff as well. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern time, for my next cast. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, Rocker Rocks. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, RC. Thank you, Captain Cap. Thank you, Zach. Thank you to Lynx who stopped in. Thank you to anybody else who popped in today. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, Prince, who popped in. Until tomorrow, everyone, have a great day. Zach. Thank you to Lynx who stopped in. Thank you to anybody else who popped in today. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, Prince, who popped in. Until tomorrow, everyone, have a great day.